Mr. Will's Music World.
Hello everyone, Mr. Will here for Mr. Will's. I was waiting for you to finish the rest. I'm out here in the mountains, just traveling around with my portable travel cajon. Now, this is a cajon, and it's what today's episode is all about. Cajon in Spanish means box, but not like a cardboard box, more like a shipping container, crate, or a dresser drawer box, more like that. And we're gonna talk about different types of cajons, like in Latin America and Peru, or in Cuba in the Caribbean, or in Spain in Europe. Now this cajon is a contemporary, more newer, modern version of the cajon, and it's a travel version. We're gonna let Professor Will tell us more about the traditional cajons and the construction and the makeup of these beautiful instruments. Hello everyone, I see you are learning about the cajon. That is a really neat cajon that Mr. Will has with him. Now there are cajons from all over the world. There's the Cuban cajon as well as the Peruvian cajon. In this episode, we are highlighting the Peruvian cajon, also known as the Afro-Peruvian Cajon. In Peru, throughout the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and the 19th century, there were African slaves, people brought from West Africa to Peru. And they were not allowed to play their instruments, but they had different rhythms that they would play on different instruments. The slaves in Peru were originally from West Africa. A lot of the music in Peru that comes from the cajon or played on instruments such as the cajon is referred to as Afro-Peruvian because of the origins of the people who played the music. There are different theories of the origins of the cajon. Music such as zamacueca is one of the origins of the cajon. Membranophones, or instruments that have membranes, such as skin from an animal stretched over a body of the instrument, were played in such musical genres such as zamacueca. These instruments, such as the llamador and repicador, or the call and the answer, were played by musicians, percussionists, between their legs, and they played different rhythms that were found or originated in music such as zamacueca. These instruments were also referred to as botijas de barro. Not much is known about the history of the cajon prior to 1850. We see different pictures and paintings, and these paintings give us insight on the history of, or the roots, possible roots and theories of the cajon. Many scholars believe that the cajon possibly has roots in instruments such as the tamborete, the checo, and the angara. The checo and the angara are gourd instruments that are also played like the repicador and the llamador that are played between the legs of the musicians. The checo and the angara are gourd-like instruments. Percussionists, musicians, also play different rhythms on the sides of harps and other genres there in Peru. The contemporary or modern cajon that we see was presumably developed in coastal cities. Some coastal cities that are historical to the origins of the cajon are Malamba, La Victoria, and Barrios Alto. Some scholars believe that the slaves in Peru were not allowed to play their instruments, so they improvised. They used gourds, as we mentioned earlier, and they used shipping crates and that were on the docks. We mentioned these coastal cities, also boxes, shipping crates, and they played different rhythms that they were familiar with from their homes in West Africa, or where their origins were in West Africa, or perhaps rhythms that evolved through centuries and decades and centuries there in Peru. There are many different styles and genres that are played on the cajon. We've mentioned zamacueca. There's also the landó and the festejo. There are many pioneers to the origin and roots of the modern Afro-Peruvian Cajon. I believe that this deserves its own episode. Later, much later, in the 1970s, a Spanish guitarist from Spain, brought with him a band, including a Brazilian percussionist who was gifted one of these amazing cajons, and he brought this cajon back with him to Spain. And that birthed the Spanish flamenco cajon. Now, the difference between the flamenco, or Spanish cajon, and the Afro-Peruvian cajon was not only the rhythms and the genre and the style that's played upon the cajon, but its construction. Within the Spanish and flamenco cajon were originally guitar strings that were placed inside. This gave it an extra snap or a different texture, a sound. In the Afro-Peruvian cajon, there were no guitar strings or snares, although they may have placed things inside the edges of the cajon to get an extra snap. Currently, there are all different types of cajons. There are electronic cajons, cajons with snares like in a drum snare, found on a drum set. The Afro-Peruvian cajon has a rich history within its folklore, its ensemble, the context it's played in, the styles of music, the bands and the musicians. It's quite an amazing history. I'm going to let you get back to Mr. Will, and I'm going to continue to read and study. Perhaps we'll do a whole episode just on the Peruvian cajon and its pioneers. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I'm going to go and travel a little bit more here in the trails in the mountains and play on my portable, contemporary travel cajon. I'll see you in the next episode. See you next time.
Mr. Will's Music World.